everybody, it's Angela, the Inquisitive Farmwife, and I'm going to be in the kitchen today, but it'll be a voiceover. I just kind of put the record button on. I ended up having my sweet daughter show up to my house, and I wanted to spend time with her, but I also wanted to share this recipe with you. So let's get to it. So first thing, I had to go and gather up all my ingredients, get my bowls, and we're going to always forget something, but we're going to start out with bananas. It requires 2 bananas, and I happen to have 2 left on this bundle that needed to be used. So here we go. I'm going to put them in this clear bowl so hopefully you can see what's going on. And I'm going to just you can take a fork, but for me, a potato masher worked really, really well because then I can kind of use it to maybe mix in some of these other ingredients later on too. Less dishes is always a good thing, right? And then the next thing I want to do is add in some of the starter. I have 1 cup here that I had separated into a Ziploc bag so that I could get used for this project today. And then I want to just kind of mix the 2 of these together just a little bit before we add anything else to the bowl. Our next ingredient is to get 3 eggs. I happen to have farm fresh. I'm going to carefully check each one of these eggs because we're getting some really cold temperatures and sometimes the eggs get frozen and that's not fun to work with. Although, if you are going to get a frozen egg, it's best to use it in baking. And then I just thought I'd stop for a second and kind of break up those eggs just a little bit, just to make it easier when we start adding in more ingredients. We'll want to add 1 cup of oil. I chose to use vegetable oil. It's just commonly what I grew up using with sweetbread type things, but you can try coconut oil, and there's so many great oils out there that you can experiment with if you choose to. We also need to add some milk, and that is just 1/2 cup. Now we pretty much have all the wet ingredients in the bowl, so I'm going to set and work for just a little bit to try to incorporate everything. I really like to get those eggs beat up, and more importantly, I like to incorporate the oil and the milk into the rest of the batter. So I'll take just a minute to kind of continuously stir this together before we add those dry ingredients. The original recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar, but I was not in the mood to go dig and find my bulk bin of regular sugar when I knew I had brown sugar just right here on the shelf. So I thought brown sugar would probably taste very good in a banana bread anyway. So that's what I did. 1 cup of brown sugar. I tend to take liberties with recipes anyway as just a guide, so I will have the correct recipe down below. I will have a link to it for you, or at least a link to the website where I get lots of these great recipes. But yeah, I just decided to switch that up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and mix that in. And what recipe isn't complete without some vanilla? I mean, they do suggest a 1/2 teaspoon, but I'm sure that I probably put, that was nearly a tablespoon, I'm guessing, but I just love vanilla, and I hardly ever use a measuring spoon when I use it in recipes. We need some baking soda. The recipe calls for a 1/2 teaspoon, and I'm trying to remember. I think I goofed up on this recipe and I got my baking soda and my baking powder mixed up. And so I will tell you the correct amount is 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And I think I did get those 2 mixed up, but I will, spoiler alert, it still worked. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. A little bit of salt in your baking really brings out the flavors of everything. It makes the sweetness sweeter. It really does. At this point, I decided I needed to get out the whisk. It doesn't matter if you work with metal when you are on baking day. It's just you have to be a little more cautious on the days that you're just feeding it, use glass or plastic or wood. But this is stainless steel, but still it doesn't matter because we're baking with it. So I decided a whisk would be better to try to incorporate everything and get less lumps. You need 2 cups of flour. I'm just using an all-purpose flour for this recipe. And then after I got the flour incorporated, it was time to add the pudding. And I was really, really lucky. In my cabinet, I happened to have 2 boxes of the banana cream instant pudding. And that is exactly what they called for, was the banana cream. So I was super excited to find that in the cabinet. But I think in a pinch, a person probably could sub out the vanilla. And then if you happen to have like a banana extract, you could use that to give it a little oomph of flavor. So now that we have got the batter mixed really, really well, our last step is to go ahead and get it into our pans and start baking it. At this point, if you want to add other things to it like nuts or such, you could, but I just wanted to make a plain banana bread today. You can see that I'm just using the aerosol spray type of spray to get the pans coated. If you do that, you want to make sure you use lots of it. It's probably better to just go ahead and butter it, or maybe grab a little bit of Crisco or something like that. And I didn't make a cinnamon sugar mix. I just went ahead and used plain brown sugar to kind of coat the pan. This helps get the bread out of the pan after you're done baking it because it does tend to want to stick a little bit. You could also just use plain flour if you want, but it will leave that powdery marking on the outside of your bread, so just be aware of that. The cinnamon sugar works really well. A little bit of cocoa powder or cinnamon or something like that mixed with the sugar does help with the coating. You can see I was kind of struggling here just a little bit, but later you'll notice it worked pretty good. We just want to divide the batter the best we can into our 2 loaf pans. I like to just kind of go back and forth and fill them evenly. One pan might be larger than the other. The more important thing is you don't want to overfill, so probably 3/4 is a good stopping point when you fill your pans. And then once you're happy with that, I went ahead and decided to go ahead and sprinkle a little more brown sugar on top. There is something about that crunchy, sugary crust that the Amish Friendship Bread is known for that is just so wonderful. And then all you have to do is put it in your preheated oven of 325 degrees. Please take note, that's less than the typical 350. That's because these Amish starters recipes, you need to cook them at a lower temperature. Once the toothpick comes out clean or the sides are coming away from the bread, you can go ahead and know that you are done. Let it cool a little bit before you try taking it out, and then you can enjoy.
I hope that you guys all enjoyed that recipe, and that I would love to know if you're following along on this journey with the Amish Friendship Bread Starter. I love sweet breads, and it's great for that. We're doing lots of other things with it, but this banana bread recipe, I just knew I had to share with all of you. So let me know if you've made something like this before down in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see ya.